February. There we go. So I'm Angie. I'm one of the AZNHA board members, as well as the Education Committee co-chair. And we have Laurel also from Family Home Care that's on the call, and she's my co-chair. And I thank her for her time that she's given to AZNHA as well. But a quick reminder, I wanted to tell you guys, we are having our conference coming up March 4th, which is only 2 weeks from now. So keep an eye on all of your MailChimp newsletters, and then make sure that you get yourself registered so that you can become a part of this this event that we're having this year. It's supposed to be an amazing event. So with that, I also wanted to let you know that we will be muting you all just to avoid any kind of disruptions. We'll also have questions at the end of the session. Feel free to write your questions in the chat box if you like, or you can hold them till the end. Either way, we will get to them here shortly. But again, as Linda just mentioned, that Lisa's going to kind of start off. We're going to give her about 5 minutes to give us some information on her company, which is Dispatch Health. So go ahead and take that away, Lisa.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Angie, and good afternoon, almost afternoon, Lacey as well. And yes, I've been a board member as well. Now I think we're going on 3 years, and just love it. I love how we can support the community. But without further ado, I will get on with Dispatch Health. How many of you? Oh, you're all muted. Never mind. So raise your hands. No. How many of you have heard of Dispatch Health? Yay, one. Okay, well, that's great, because now I can explain it to you, and you can tell 10 friends and so on. So we are, I'd like to start right from the beginning. We originated from Denver with 2 ER doctors who were realizing that, a lot of people are coming in here and, wasting a lot of time and money. And I think we can treat some of these people at home. So that started out with 21 employees about 6 years ago. And we are now in 54 cities across the United States as a mobile urgent care. So instead of running out to the ER, you can call our number, we come out. It's not that easy. I mean, there are questions that unroll from that, but basically that is what we are as a mobile ER. And it's a nurse practitioner and a medical technician that come to your home. There's an MD that is an oversight if that nurse practitioner feels they need a little more, not necessarily guidance, but just, hey, here's the situation, what do you think? That kind of thing. We treat anyone from 3 months of age to end of life. So it's not just the senior community. And what makes it nice is, and I firsthand, I've experienced this about 3 weeks ago for my husband. They came out, they gave him an injection so he could move. He wasn't able to sit, and it alleviated a lot of pain. He got some prescriptions because he wasn't able to see a doctor for almost 7 days. So it doesn't cost anything to just call up and say, here's my situation. Is this something you can help with? And we're not trying to be the doctor. We're just that link between an emergency occurring and you not having to wait in the ER or driving while you're sick or, vomiting, you got a fever, whatever it might be. You can just sit in the comfort of your home, watching TV, staying in your pajamas with your creature on your lap, or just being home, and then they come in and it's about an hour visit or so. They can write prescriptions, hang first bag antibiotics, treat for, dehydration, basically staple, suture, and glue, different issues as that. I had the opportunity to be in a car actually for 30 hours about 2 weeks ago because COVID took out some of our medical technicians. And wow, I mean, an EKG was run. I was doing COVID testing. I mean, there's just so many things that we can encompass, to care for individuals. Now, we've also purchased a mobile X-ray company. So that is actually part of us now, what we offer. So we can do mobile X-ray as well. Let's say it's, 115, 120, or it's, 10 or 20 below. Someone has an order to get an X-ray. We can come to the home and do that. So your next question might be, oh, this must be so much money. Oh my gosh. Well, we're contracted with all of the insurance companies but 2, because they know that is a huge, huge savings. And so they support, the idea, of course. So Blue Cross Blue Shield, United, I believe just tribal and one of them in VA, but we do accept TRICARE for life as well. There's lots more to tell, but in a nutshell, that is it. And it's amazing. It's just an amazing, it's amazing experience, amazing service. And Phoenix now, we have 14 vehicles. We call them rovers. Each market starts with 2. So within 6 years now, we've got 14 here. We have 2 offices. I opened the market in Tucson. They started with 2. We now have 4. So I bet you can't guess what the largest market is. Let me hear a guess. Let me hear a guess. Vegas, 23 cars. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty crazy. Anyways, you know, if you don't want to go to the ER and you'd like to use the service, please reach out. I can come to any home, anywhere, any business, give you our information. It's a great selling point, especially for non-medical home cares, home health, really anyone, you know, to offer that service. So even family members feel more comfortable, like, wow. So I know that if I'm back in New York, my mom's not running off to the ER. You first can possibly circumnavigate this and have us, you know, come to your home and keep mom or dad safe at home. So thank you.
Lisa,
Thank you. Yes.
I was going to ask you, if somebody doesn't have the insurance, they can sign up at any time during the year, or do they also accept a cash basis, or?
Yes, actually. So get this. Yeah. If you have no insurance, it's $275 flat fee, no matter if they take care of 6 or 7 different situations. Maybe you think you have the flu, you need an IV, you fell on the way to the door and you've got a gash in your arm or such. Yeah, so it's $275 flat fee. Other than that, when someone calls, just like when you go to an ER or urgent care or such, you'll give your demographics, your insurance information. And at that time, you will know, oh, this is going to be a $5 copay, or a AZNHA is a $0 copay, or if it's a $50 copay. And there's been situations as well that we can bill you for that even. I mean, it's, you know, we're not about the numbers, we're about the safety for that person. We can't see everyone. If someone has chest pains, clearly you need to call 911, you know, or there's been times when we get on site and that patient is not alluded to so many other things that may have happened. And this is where we use our resources of the community and say, hey, looks like you could maybe use some home care, or, you know, home health, or podiatry, or whatever that case might be, as well. So it's a good kind of sleuthing service, you know, also besides just being there for that treatment. So
can you add the contact information, or they just contact you directly?
No, I can. I mean, it's just dispatchhealth.com, but I can add it. That would be, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. It looks like Pam is also asking for your email address, Lisa's.
Okay. You got it. I'll just put it right here.
And do you also contract with any payers?
It's just strictly, you know, the insurance companies or private pay. Okay. We're kind of like Switzerland. So we do work with, you know, Encompass. We work with, you know, nationally, you know, throughout the United States, there are companies that are like, wow, we want our own separate line so we can kind of circumnavigate and get in quicker kind of thing, which we do, you know, so we do partner, but we are not with one person. We're not a referral. We can't always refer, but we can keep that person home so you don't lose them in the hospital system, you know, especially memory care patients as well. And, you know, on that. Yeah. Well,
thank you for that, Lisa. That was really valuable information. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, ladies. Appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Well, without further ado, we'll go ahead and have Haley. Can you pronounce your last name? I don't want to, but is it Ben?
It's Ben Isaac, but it's just not spelled like how it sounds. So just like the
okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Haley, for coming on. And you're with Nivan, so I'm going to go ahead and just let you take the floor so you can tell us all about your services.
Okay, I will just say that I'm a little bit jealous that I live in Canada and I don't have access to Lisa's services, because that sounds pretty amazing. We have universal health care, but there's pluses and minuses to that, like, we'll be honest. So I'm going to introduce myself. I guess I'll start sharing my screen. That's a good place to start. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for having me here today. It's really, really exciting to be here and presenting to your group. I'm going to do my best to try and add a little bit of value and color and context around the mindset of people around retention and like what makes people happy at work. And of course, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Nivan. So let's start there. Nivan is an education technology company, and we specialize in the home and healthcare space. We certify caregivers for their annual mandatory training requirements, so in-service training and what have you. And what differentiates us from other online education providers that specialize in this space that you might know of, some of them like Relias, we're really user-centric and we're really focused on the home care space specifically. We are using a mobile-first approach to technology. And the caregivers who are training with us can really understand what we're training them on, because we're teaching to typically a grade 5 competency level, but in many languages, and they're all translated by native speakers. So we have the same library, not different modules, but the same content in English, Spanish, Russian, Haitian Creole, Mandarin. We have about 25% of our library already translated in Cantonese, Polish, Korean. I already saw that we've started working on Arabic. So we're sort of following the flow of people who are coming into the country and, translating into those common dialects and languages that we see in home care. Another thing that makes us really special is yes, we're an education technology company, but we are very focused on the way that we teach. You might see our logo down there in the corner, and I kind of messed up my slide, so it looks like it's double, but it says better training, better care. And it's not just a cheesy tagline. We really think that with value-based payments coming in, we have to provide a high standard of care, training. Sorry, you provide the standard of care, we provide the training. We have to provide really high quality training to the aides that they can understand and then action. Okay, so not just something to watch, but something to do, something that helps them practice those skills. And so what better way to teach than the way that we have always been teaching, since there were teachers? We use the Socratic teaching method, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. The Socratic teaching method is employed through gamification and situation-based learning. So we'll look at that a bit later, but I still want to talk to you a bit more. So we break down the majority of our content into micro lessons. So a micro lesson is a short 3 to 15 minute lesson. So you could have a module called HIPAA, and that HIPAA module might be 45 minutes, but it's actually broken down into these 3 to 15 minute chunks. And what that allows caregivers to do is train on their schedule. For example, on the bus ride home or waiting in line at the grocery store. So it's really, really convenient for the caregivers to do training on our platform. The content is available on both mobile and web, so they can take it through our mobile application. They can go to the library if they don't have access to a screen of their own, and they can log into our website. If you use one of our partner apps that has single sign-on, like HHA Exchange or Viventi and Payroll, you can click on a banner within those apps and actually just go directly to the training without another login. So we try and make it really accessible. And of course, our content is built in a way to be compliant, because what is more important than compliance? We don't want any surveyors coming into your agency and going, no, that's not good. So for example, the caregivers who are using our system can't game the system. You can't fast forward to the end of the module. They have to work in sequence through those micro lessons. They have to show competency as they go. And we're reinforcing all of these lessons that we're giving with quizzes. And we even have an RN available to users if they have questions about the lessons material. I just alluded to our partners. So we have a lot of integrations that we work with. And this is kind of a picture of those integrations. We integrate with many agency management systems and some payroll providers, and there are different features to integrations. So starting at the top, at the very basic level, that would include roster maintenance and updating caregiver information. Then we would go to automatic enrollment, so automatically enrolling people in courses based on predefined criteria. With some of our partners I mentioned, we have single sign-on, meaning users don't have to create another username and password. And furthermore, we even have shift blocking with some of our partners, which means the caregivers can't access their training while they're supposed to be caring for a patient. So we really do our best to make sure that we're using every little plugin and tool available to us when we're building out these integrations. So now what you all came here for, let's talk about recruitment, retention, and how technology sort of layers into this. So I'm going to talk only a little bit about recruitment because you guys all have your recruiting process. What I really get into a lot in this presentation is retention and what our needs are to be happy at work and how that ladders back to technology in the caregiving space. But with recruitment, we know it's a huge challenge. We know that you're drawing from the same pool of candidates as an agency that's down the street. So you really need to differentiate yourself through your marketing materials. So be upfront in your marketing materials about why your agency is the best place for candidates by addressing what you know their concerns to be. Technology can be one of the things that you promote. So technology that makes doing the caregiving job easier can be a great friend to your recruitment strategy. So for example, some agency management softwares allow you to sort of Uberize shifts, right? So you can broadcast shifts based on geographic location for those last minute things. And you can even use your technology to mine the data that you collect on your current employees to better understand who would make great candidates to add to your agency so that you can recruit in those places. So you're using technology to draw candidates in, saying we have this great stuff in your marketing materials. Then you're using the existing technology that you have to get the data to know who should be coming in. And understanding where those candidates are coming from is going to really help you to drive investment into the right recruitment channels. In a 2016 report from surveys clearly show that caregivers will embrace technology like patient monitoring tools and care worker mobile apps, but they want them to be seamless and integrated because the demands on their time are already so high. Since the demands on their time are already so high, offering asynchronous training, as in not in a classroom, not having to come into your office, means that your caregivers can learn in bite-sized pieces when it fits into their schedules, and it makes them more available for work. As we know, there's never enough caregivers. So that's my 2 cents on recruitment and sort of how technology can help you there. Now we're going to talk about, this is my favorite subject. So we're going to talk about successful retention strategies. I'm not going to lie to you. I listened to a podcast a little while ago, and they were talking about this sort of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs and what people need to feel satisfied and happy at work. And I found that so intriguing that I wanted to go through and I wanted to sort of tie those needs to caregivers and what we do here at Nivan. So that's sort of what I'm going to talk to you about today. We're going to discuss autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Those are the 3 things people need to feel good at their jobs and how this all ladders back. So first, we're going to talk about autonomy. So we all know what autonomy is, being able to be independent and make your own decisions. As we are striving towards person-centered care, we can generally agree that it's in the best interest of the client if they maintain some sort of autonomy. We want to promote a feeling of independence with our clients. The sense of autonomy is very powerful, and caregiving is a very rewarding career, but it's also very demanding. So let's explore the ways in which we can support our caregivers' autonomy. Obviously, they have to do things by the book. They've got a plan of care and they have to do it that way. But we can support our caregivers' autonomy by empowering them with the tools necessary to establish trust with their clients and their clients' family. So this means teaching your caregivers, and that's teaching, are we noticing a theme? So we want to teach our caregivers how to respect client and family value systems. And you'll not be surprised to learn that providing training to the caregivers in soft skills like communication or cultural sensitivity and awareness can support them in that goal of establishing trust. In considering the autonomy of others, caregivers are asked to take into account the needs of the patients and the needs and limitations of their relations. So their children or their neighbors or whoever else is helping to support their care. And they have to do that all while they're balancing their own duties and their own needs. So that can be really stressful. So we want to make sure that caregivers are trained to fulfill their clients' needs while allowing sufficient room for all involved in the care to express their concerns. And that can be a really delicate balance. The ability of all of these parties involved to participate is going to rely on whether or not trust has been established. All parties that have to believe in each other's investment in a positive outcome for the client. So that means the caregiver thinks that the son or daughter is there in the best interest of the client. The client thinks the caregiver is there in the best interest of the client. Everybody's got to have that sense of trust. If the parties involved do trust one another, they should be able to have an open dialogue and show mutual respect. And to properly assess the individual's needs, it's essential to have a dialogue that is free of manipulation or coercion. So supporting caregivers by providing training on things like aging sensitivity, so that's like consumer control and independent living philosophy, or even advanced directives, can empower them to communicate appropriately with their clients. So overall, establishing autonomy really depends a lot on the resources that we're providing to our caregivers to have that sense. So yes, we're following our plan of care, but our caregivers are empowered to feel like they're in control of that situation because they know it, they understand it. So now relatedness, and this slide was really, really easy to write because if we look at the definition of relatedness that I have up there, I'll give you a second. You guys can all take a look at that right underneath the headline. I mean, it really seems like on the surface that home care has all of these ingredients. We've got all the ingredients in the cupboard to help caregivers' sense of relatedness. So then we're questioning, why do so many of them leave, right? So I'm going to paint a picture for you. Imagine this. Your caregiver gives their client, your client, their personal phone number. This is a no-no, right? And you admonish them and you explain that this is unacceptable practice because all communication has to go through the agency. You know this, that's a rule, they signed off on it, it's in your policies and procedures. Your caregiver thinks you're being really unfair. They leave this conversation feeling like an injustice has been done. They don't feel trusted. And you don't necessarily know this. You don't know how they're feeling. But if you take a minute to explore your caregiver's feelings, and we all know this, if you've ever managed people, it's 80% psychology, it's 20% managing your business. If you take a moment to explore the caregiver's feelings, that they're, the feelings of unfairness, you're going to discover that their non-compliance maybe came from a really kind-hearted and caring place. And you might have an opportunity to explain the risks involved in what happened, and you can both come up with a collaborative solution for the next time your caregiver runs into those feelings that prompted the non-compliant behavior. And this goes back to another thing that I read a lot about, which is called collaborative and proactive solutions. It's a model of parenting, actually. But collaborative and proactive solutions, the idea behind it is that it meets the underlying concerns of all parties involved. And it helps you take care of those feelings. You're sort of taking feelings out of it. People do things because they have a concern. And if you can find ways to meet those concerns collaboratively and proactively, you're going to create really trusting and long-lasting relationships. So that also helps. That's helping the relatedness, that trust feeling. And I read this and I wanted to share it with you. I read, all behavior may not be acceptable, but all feelings are worth exploring. And I really loved that because I think it's so true. So take the time to facilitate the development of your caregiver's values at work. This is another really hot tip. So help them align the goals that they have with their own values. It's impossible to work. It's impossible to link values and work if the individuals don't know what their values are. So that's difficult. Hopefully during your recruitment and interviewing process, you're understanding and aligning on values. But because employees whose value systems align strongly with the company leadership report a much higher job satisfaction than employees who feel misaligned. And I'll give you a personal example because that's sort of what I do. I draw everything from personal experience. And I'm going to talk to you about my brother, and he's going to be really mad that this is being recorded, so I will never show him. But he's an employee, and we were just talking about this last week. He values respect, and he values receiving recognition more than anything else. This is the most important thing to him, not just at work, but even in his personal relationships. He needs to feel that feeling, okay? For him to feel secure in his job, his boss actually needs to tell him he's doing a good job out loud and provide recognition for his contributions publicly. So it's going to surprise you. He cares more about this than compensation. And my brother's profession is he is a salesperson. Okay, so psychological needs are a real thing. So imagine that his employer can keep him happy just by stroking his ego once in a while. I'm not saying it's a great value to have, but his new employer recognizes this in him, and he's so happy. He's never been so happy in a job before. And you know, understanding our employees' values really can help us to keep them longer. And finally, connecting the work that your caregiver is doing with a noble cause. So this is the really easy part, right? It doesn't go without saying though. So you really need to let your employees know how the work that they're doing is impacting their clients and their communities. At the end of the day, it's all about laddering everything back to the individual needs. So, and to your company's objectives. So individual needs meet company objectives. That makes relatedness. That's what I want you to take from this. And then competence. So competence, this is something that is like really personal for me, but speaking from experience, it's really, really critical to feel competent at your job. When you have a lack of clarity around your role, or you feel like you don't have enough training or experience to face the tasks in front of you, that contributes to a feeling of incompetence. And one of the top complaints caregivers express in survey after survey is the feeling that they're unprepared for the work that they're going to face on the job. And whether it's something as simple as how to manage light housekeeping, or something as complex as managing reactive behaviors in a memory care patient, caregivers who feel unprepared for their job will simply just leave to do something easier, right? They can go work at Walmart. Who needs this, right? In order to promote actual competence, though, it's really vital to support caregivers with learning resources. So creating a culture of learning, rewarding caregivers for pursuing continuing education opportunities. So what is a learning resource? That could be, you have, you know, if you're a small agency, you can even just start a WhatsApp group with your caregivers, and every week you send out a hot tip, something to make caregivers feel more competent at their jobs. Or maybe you engage experts in your area to lead seminars for your caregivers and get them all on Zoom or something like that. Sorry about that. So you can do anything like that. A culture of learning means everybody from the top to the bottom of your agency understands the value of learning. And something today, the value of learning something today that is going to help someone else tomorrow. So asking what somebody learned today helps cement competency and new skills. So when your coordinators or your schedulers are on the phone with your aides, even just saying, hey, what did you learn today? You know, your caregiver's going to have to stop and think, what did I learn today? Oh, I learned this random thing. And that actually, you're practicing the skill. Surprise, surprise. This is going to be a shameless plug for Nivan here, but caregivers who have access to training in their own language, in their pocket, available to them at their convenience, they feel competent. They feel really good about what they're doing. So perhaps you've noticed a theme throughout this presentation. I really wanted to add some value today and give you a complete picture of the hierarchy of needs that helps people to feel fulfilled at work. And while relatedness takes a little bit of work on your part to sort of link those values back to your goals, both autonomy and competency can be supported through the use of technology. Empowering caregivers to learn the skills that they need to make safe, autonomous decisions and care for clients with complex needs can be done conveniently through the use of technology like Nivan. And not only that, but it can be done effectively through the use of instructional design elements that incorporate the oldest known teaching methods. So if it's okay with you, I want to show you what I mean by that. So what you're looking at here, this is actually our web application. And you'll see it's a very simple user interface. I'm going to just flip over here and I'm going to show you this is our mobile application. Again, very, very simple. It's very clear and straightforward what caregivers are supposed to do. They are supposed to click on a module and they're supposed to start learning. Okay, so our training is set up to be very, very intuitive and have a very simple user interface. I'm just going to come back to this web app. I'm going to also show you how easy it is for caregivers to self-select their language. Okay, so if I would prefer to learn in Spanish, because that's actually my native language, I hit save, I come back over here, and the exact same content that I'm learning is now available to me in Spanish. Okay, And I don't have to retake any of the content that I already learned in English. I've already established competency here through a lesson quiz, and I can just keep learning in Spanish. I can just pick up where I left off. I want to talk to you a little bit about the Socratic teaching method and gamification. We're going to talk about these different modalities of learning that we use, but I think it's important for you guys to sort of see it in action. So I'm going to give you a glimpse at like a real module.
Dietary guidelines for older people. After completing this lesson, you will understand the types of food and nutrients that make up a healthy diet for older people. You will also understand that some medical conditions may require special meal plans or dietary restrictions.
So I like to say this is the most boring thing that you'd see on our platform, lesson objectives. And all I really want you guys to take from this, and this is very related to technology, is look how big the buttons are and look how big the fonts are. And that's because 95% of caregivers are doing their training on their mobile device, on a phone this size. It has to fit in their hand. You have to be able to interact with it with the tip of your finger. And so it has to be easy to read and easy to use.
Help improve Sue's diet. Answer the questions and avoid making bad food choices along the way.
So this is where our instructional design team gets to have a lot of fun. So they try and make all of our training really interactive and really colorful and engaging. And we start everything using the Socratic method. So what does that mean? I keep saying it over and over again. The Socratic method, for anybody who doesn't know, is you have a teacher, and the teacher comes in and says, okay, class, we're learning about food today, how we should eat. What do you know about how we should eat? And the students get an opportunity to demonstrate their existing knowledge, because everybody comes with some sort of existing knowledge. Whether it's right or wrong, the teacher then has an opportunity to correct the student or expand on that. And so that's what we're doing with all of our training.
You are at the supermarket with Sue, helping her get groceries. Which type of foods should you get? Drag and drop your answers into the shopping basket.
I am going to buy some nice crusty bread and some delicious cheeses and some nice salami. You see where I'm going with this. We'll get some olives. We've got a charcuterie spread going here. And I obviously want donuts and French fries, but since they don't go on a charcuterie board, I'm going to have to go and get some grapes. I hope somebody's bringing wine.
There's no one type of food that gives people all the nutrients they need. So to have a healthy diet, it's important to get a wide variety of foods from each of the 5 main food groups. These food groups are generally split into fruits, vegetables, grains, proteins, and dairy or dairy alternatives. Click each one for more information.
So now that I have demonstrated my knowledge, the next thing that follows is the teacher gets to expand on that. So I can't fast forward this. I can't click this button as much as I might try. I have to go through and learn a little bit.
Grains include food like pasta, bread, rice, buckwheat, cereal, and oatmeal. Other starchy foods or foods that are high in carbohydrates, such as potatoes, are also sometimes included in this group. Older people should eat whole grain foods like whole wheat pasta, wholemeal bread, oatmeal, multigrain crackers, and brown rice. As well as being a good source of energy, these foods are full of fiber and vitamins that can improve digestion, lower blood pressure and cholesterol, and help regulate blood sugar. Refined grain foods like cakes, white bread, pastries, and cookies are often low in nutrients and high in added sugar, fat, and sodium, and should be limited.
So now we can see I've watched that video, and I would have to go through and continue watching this to be able to move on to the next part of the lesson. But hopefully that gives you sort of a clear picture of what I mean by the Socratic teaching method. You'll notice that we've incorporated a few different instructional design techniques into that module. So we just watched a green screen video as an example. Overall, though, video only represents 20 to 30% of our content. Okay, most of our content is interactive lessons through gamification, and I'm going to show you some other examples of that. But video is useful when you need to explain something like, how do you perform a lift using a Hoyer lift? How do you apply a transfer belt? So that's task-based instructional video. We just saw a green screen video, which is an instructor standing at the front of the classroom, and he's got text and images on the screen to support what he's saying. Or of course, animated videos, which are my personal favorite. That's the one that I'll show you. And anybody who was here early and listened to us joking about our glasses, this is why I'm wearing glasses.
By around the age of 40, many people begin to develop farsightedness and start reaching for reading glasses. Farsightedness is caused by the loss of elasticity of the lens of the eye. and occurs when the lens becomes stiff and won't adjust to refocus from looking at things in the distance to looking at things nearby. People suffering from farsightedness may be unable to see things clearly, even at a close distance, or nearby objects appear blurry. Cataracts, or clouding of the lens of the eye, may begin to affect some people's vision when they reach their 60s. Long-term exposure to sunlight increases the risk of cataracts. Cataracts can be corrected through surgery to replace the lens.
So you can see how we've used sort of visual cues there to help explain concepts that might be difficult to explain with just our words. And of course, the language is very, very simple. So now we've looked at video, and now we're going to talk more about these games and gamification. And this is really how we employ the Socratic teaching method. And this is sort of the most fun part of our training. And it makes up 70 to 80% of it. So a game can be as simple as, here's a sentence with a missing word. Here's a word bank. What word do you think should complete that sentence? And then we'll expand on that. Or here you're presented with information and you have to decide if that's a myth or a fact about domestic violence. Or does this information spread or prevent infection? Or here I want to show you a cute little game that we have that's part of our mental health module. This is called Helping Riley.
This is Riley. He usually likes going for walks in the park, feeding the birds, and playing chess with his friends. But lately, Riley's mental health has been low, and he hasn't been able to enjoy the things he usually does. Click on each pigeon and answer its question. Every time you get an answer right, Riley's mental health improves.
So guys, this is usually my audience participation portion, and I would love to get some participation. So give me a thumbs up if, I'm going to click on the button here. And we're going to try and make Riley feel better by answering some of these questions. We can see that his demeanor is like depressed, but he will actually start to cheer up as we answer questions correctly. So I want you to get your thumbs ups ready, okay?
Around the world, how many children out of 5 have a mental health disorder? Drag and drop the number of children you think to the circle, then click submit.
All right, so give me a thumbs up if you think I should put 1 kid in here. We're all like, where's the thumbs up button? Honestly, I don't know. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna put 1 kid, 2 kids. A lot of people think the answer is 2 kids, but actually it's 1.
According to the World Health Organization, around 1 in 5 children around the world have a mental health disorder.
So we got that one right. And now we can see Riley's demeanor has started to change. She's starting to, his frown is getting a little smaller. He's standing up a little straighter, and his health bar has a smiley face in it now. As we get answers correct, she's going to just start to feel much better. I'm going to give you an example of a game that uses situation-based learning. So when we have situation-based learning, we have the opportunity to practice skills that we use in our everyday lives. So you know, here daily life scenarios, this is sort of infection control. This is part of our dementia care. This is actually part of our household safety module. This is how to make someone's home safer if you have dementia. Lacey, you're here. I'm gonna let you choose which one of these games I should do, just because you're the only one I can see.
Well, I love daily life scenarios, so.
I like that one too. I usually do the dementia care house tour, but this one's a great game.
This is Valerie. Help her keep herself, her clients, her family, her friends, and her community safe from infection throughout the day. Click on each square.
So we're going to be presented with questions. You can see this looks a little bit like a care plan. We're starting in the morning and we go all the way to bedtime.
Valerie arrives at her client, Mrs. Marquez's house. After asking her how she is, Mrs. Marquez tells Valerie that the symptoms of her urinary tract infection have gone away, so she doesn't need to take the rest of her antibiotics. Valerie encourages Mrs. Marquez to continue taking her antibiotics until they are finished, flushes the rest of Mrs. Marquez's antibiotics down the toilet.
I think everybody on this call knows that we should encourage her to continue taking her antibiotics, but you're probably asking yourself, well, I mean, if these are the games, what happens if I get it wrong?
Valerie should encourage Mrs. Marquez to continue taking the antibiotics until they are finished, even if her symptoms have gone away and she's feeling better. Not finishing a course of antibiotics can cause bacteria to become resistant to them and make the infection harder to treat. Like most other medications, antibiotics should never be flushed down the toilet, as they can pollute our waterways, harm fish and other aquatic life, and even end up in our drinking water.
So even though I got it wrong, I still find out what I'm supposed to know about this. So not just why she should take the antibiotics, but also what would the impact of doing the other action be? I can see I've gotten this wrong, but this doesn't prohibit me from moving forward at the training, okay? This is what I like to call the teachable moment. And the teachable moment, it doesn't matter if you get it right or wrong. Just like in a classroom, if you put up your hand to answer a question and you get it wrong, your teacher isn't going to kick you out. They're going to keep teaching you.
Valerie takes the garbage out. As she's walking back to Mrs. Marquez's house, the wind blows her hair in front of her face. Valerie brushes her hair out of her face and tucks it behind her ear, avoids touching her face with her unwashed hands.
So this is so relatable if you've ever had your hair stuck to your lip gloss in the wind, but we're going to avoid touching our face with our unwashed hands now that we have mentally practiced this skill.
Valerie has just been touching garbage. She should avoid touching her face or anything else until she washes her hands.
So this sort of helps you practice the skill of not having an automatic reaction. And I can see I've got one wrong, I've got one right, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's keep this train moving. So this is how the Socratic teaching method is employed through gamification and using situation-based learning. Finally, we want to talk a little bit about lesson quizzes. To do that, I'm going to come back over here. Remember, we talked about how our content is broken down into micro lessons. In order for me to move from one micro lesson to another, I have to take a lesson quiz. A lesson quiz is just one question. If I get the answer right, it unlocks the next lesson. If I get the answer wrong, I have another opportunity to answer a question correctly. I get 2 more chances. If I get all 3 of those wrong, I have to rewatch that micro lesson. So we're making sure that people are competent in one thing before we move on to the next. Finally, you have the option to add a final quiz to any module. A final quiz is 10 questions, and you might want to add them to things like infection control, but you might not care about adding it to things like communication. And that's just about how you want to use your time on our platform. But the final quizzes are pass retake tests, and even these are very friendly looking.
Infection control final quiz. Choose your character.
So we want to make sure that people feel comfortable and at ease, and so they can choose any sort of character they like.
In order to pass this quiz, you must get at least 8 of the 10 questions right. Now let's see what we've learned so far. An infectious disease is a disease that is caused by a microorganism known either as a pathogen or a germ. True, false.
This is, of course, true. But let's get it wrong, because we know that if we're quizzing somebody and they get it wrong, we have to do remediation, right? We have to help them understand what they did wrong.
An infectious disease is a disease that is caused by a microorganism known either as a pathogen or a germ.
So now if I have to retake this test, I know what the correct answer should be. I can see I've got 0 points out of 1 question that I've been asked.
Which of these are types of germs? Bacteria, viruses, fungi, all of the above.
We'll get this one right. Get our happy noises.
All of these are types of germs.
So this is really how we've set up our content to be effective. And so you can see how we've leveraged technology, but we're still making sure that the training is impactful. And that's really key. You don't want to just send out videos, because if people are watching a video, they can fast forward to the end, or they can zone out until it's time to click the next button. We really want to make sure that people are engaged with the training the whole time. Finally, what are the tools available to you to be able to manage your employees through the training? So we can see that, this agency has 14 employees, and we can see overall how many people have signed up. We want to look here at a program. You can actually, I'm going to make my screen a little bit bigger here, but you can actually filter by many, many different things. So if we know your disciplines or your locations, sublocations, their language, their hire date, so you can you can group people together this way, you can filter and find people in that way. But the most common thing that our agencies are looking for are completion of a program. So I can see here all of the people. I can see there are certificates that are downloadable. I can see there are some certificates that the agency needs to sign off on. And I can see some people have to finish their training. And if I want to explore, I can go into the user profile. I can actually see what people have completed. I can see that he hasn't finished his PPE module. Over here, I'm able to view how many hours of training I have left, because this is a really unique thing about our system is you're not paying per user per month. You're actually buying a bank of hours of training. So let's say you give all of your employees 12 hours of training every year. and you have 100 employees, your bank would have 1,200 hours. And as people consume the training, the bank is depleted, not as you assign it. So you could actually give that training to 200 people. It would just dwindle your bank faster as they take the training. But you also want to be able to review what's in your programs. So you can come here and you can actually get your own customized course catalog that is customized to what you have in a particular program. You can report directly from here. So anytime you have anybody selected on here, you can actually export that information into a CSV file. But we also have more granular reporting. You can see I've got some reports here that I've pulled earlier, but you basically select the program you want to report on and decide whether you want the program, module, or lesson level, and then you choose your date range. You can even run a payroll report over here. So if we come back to this main screen, you get trained on this and you get a customer success person, an account manager for yourself. And then we have a whole customer success team that helps the aides to utilize the training. But if you forget how to do something, we even have this great walk me tool. So let's say you wanted to download certificates. It's going to walk me through actually what I need to do. And it tells me exactly I should click next. I should select my employees. I should go here, I should download certificates. And now I have all of those certificates downloaded onto my computer for probably the umpteenth time. That's sort of everything that I had to show you today. Just as an overview, you can see we have a lot of those modules that we were talking about. So, types of communication. We have a 1.5 hour dementia training. We have a 6-hour dementia certification for upskilling. We have aging sensitivity, which would be, normal aging, promoting healthy aging, independent living, cultural sensitivity and awareness training that includes everything from, being in somebody's home and not recognizing how they do things to caring for LGBTQ clients. We really have an extensive training library here that, I'd love for you guys to explore if you wanted more information. But that's sort of it for me. Thank you so much. You're on mute, Angie.
There we go. Thank you so much. That was so informative. And I love the fact that it's only 15-minute increments because it keeps them from getting bored. They're interactive, and you've got like different types of, whether they're cartoons or you've also got like the hands-on where it's instructional. Right. I've seen those before as well. So I think this is definitely something that we can all benefit from. Does anybody else have any questions? I see Pam thought it was a great presentation. Jara said, thanks for the info. Unfortunately, she had to log off. Okay. And did you also add your information on there, Haley? So that
sorry, yeah, here, Haley. Oopsie, Haley@nivan.com. Really, really complicated information. Just my first name @nivan.com. So if anybody has any questions or if you want some more information, definitely reach out to me or to Lacey, who is, no surprise, Lacey@nivan.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciated being here.
All right. We're going to go ahead and sign off. And you all have a wonderful day.